Hello, and welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning into CBS Television News. I'm your host, Brian Keefe, along with Trent Jones. Today is June 7th, 1942, and the Battle of Midway is in full swing. Let's go right over to Anthony Alessi with Midway.
Hello folks, a lot of stuff going on in the Pacific today. First bringing you a live look at the Pacific Front. Currently, the U.S. and Japanese forces are tangled up near the island of Midway, located only 2,500 miles from Japan. The island of Midway is quickly becoming the most important American naval base of the war. This just in, I'm getting word that Japanese battleships are converging on the outnumbered American fleet. That's all I have for now. I'll get back to you.
Thank you, Anthony. We now bring over to Jack to take a look at the wreckage the Japanese have brought to our naval base in Pearl Harbor.
That's right, Trent. Now, as I'm sure you all remember, the Japanese attacked this port exactly 6 months ago and brought devastation across Pearl Harbor.
Is there anything else you can tell us about the attack?
On December 7th, an unsuspected attack brought on by Japanese bombers and kamikaze fighters destroyed over 20 U.S. warships and 188 warplanes, as well as taking the lives of 2,388 American soldiers and sailors. Now, from what we know, the first wave of the attack arrived at around 8 in the morning and lasted for about 30 minutes. Then, after a short break in the attack, a larger second wave arrived at 8:54 a.m. and lasted until 9:45 a.m., a little under an hour.
Do you know how many civilian casualties there were?
Unfortunately, an exact number is not yet known, but our best estimates are around 50 civilian lives have been lost.
What was the most significant damage that the Japanese inflicted?
The largest loss came from the USS Arizona, where 1,117 sailors were killed, which was about 75% of the crew on board and about half of the total casualties.
Thanks, Jack. We'll see you later tonight during your interview with Admiral Nimitz, the commanding officer during the attack. We now bring you to the Coral Sea battle with C.J. Hall.
Thank you, Brian. Just last night around 4 o'clock, a battle erupted at the port of Mosby off the coast of New Guinea. The battle quickly escalated, turning into an almost full air battle. This meant trouble for the Australian and their plans to expand into the South Pacific. We have no further information on this attack. Wait, what's this? Okay, we have just received breaking news. Apparently a group of code breakers have just deciphered a transmission sent in Japan, and it says the Japanese have retreated from New Guinea because of American ships, Yorktown and Lexington. Woo! What's this? Okay, good news, folks. The American supply lines to Australia have stayed open. Looks like we're going to have plenty of shrimp on the barbie for years to come. Woo!
CJ, are you still there?
Yes, I'm right here, Trent. I'm currently in the year 1945.
Wow, really? Could you tell us what's going on in Okinawa?
Sure thing. Officials have believed the Japanese would not surrender until they were invaded. The U.S. now has the task to prepare for war. To prepare for war, the U.S. needs to place a stockpile of supplies for the war. We decided to make the stockpile in Okinawa, 350 miles from Japan. Wait, what's this? Okay, folks, breaking news. America has just landed on the shores of Okinawa. Sounds like the Japanese are using a new tactic. Instead of beach warfare, the Japanese have retreated and are defending the rugged mountains. And it sounds like the Americans are going to have to dig the Japanese out of their caves and bunkers and walk up steep mountains, all while taking constant cover from machine gun fire. Doesn't sound fun to be in the Army right now. Am I right, Brian?
True dat. Thank you, CJ. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Look, here is the new BandAid plastic strip with new Super Stick. It sticks better than any other bandage. The proof? Take a dry egg at room temperature. Touch the egg with any other bandage. Brand X, brand Y, brand Z. Not one sticks. But a BandAid plastic strip with new Super Stick sticks tight instantly. Watch it again in slow motion. No pressure, yet we can lift the egg, even boil it. And the BandAid plastic strip never comes loose.
Maybe you don't want to broil eggs this way, but you do want the extra protection of BandAid plastic strips. They take better care of little cuts and scratches. They stay put.
Yes, even in hot, soapy dishwater. Neat, fresh-colored, almost invisible. BandAid plastic strips with new Super Stick stick better than any other bandage. Made only by Johnson & Johnson, the most trusted name in surgical dressings. Be sure you get BandAid plastic strips.
Now we bring you breaking news. Japan is quickly closing in on the American troops. Anthony?
Thanks, Brian. Just got word that the vastly outnumbered American fleet, left to defend Midway, has launched air raids on Japanese aircraft carriers. I'm just getting this now. The Japanese have been crippled at the little cost to the American fleet. So the Battle of Midway has finally ended, spanning from June 3rd to June 7th, concluding with the sinking of the American carrier Yorktown.
You make it sound like that was easy. What went wrong for the Japanese?
Well, Brian, it was the plan of the Japanese to lure the American carriers into a trap, while the rest of the American fleet was fighting the Japanese along the Aleutian Islands. American codebreakers were able to decipher the plans and warn the small American task force defending Midway. If they didn't do this, then the Japanese would have laid waste to the remainder of the American fleet, gaining naval superiority.
Would it be correct to say that this is a turning point for the war in the Pacific?
I would definitely say that, Brian. This reason being is, during the battle, the Japanese lost 4 aircraft carriers, a heavy cruiser, and 258 aircraft. This nearly crippled the Japanese Navy and put an even higher demand on the manufacturing power of the country.
And we now return to Jack at Pearl Harbor as he interviews Fleet Admiral Chester Nimitz, one of the lead officers during the Pearl Harbor.
Admiral Nimitz, thanks for taking time to answer some of our questions. Now, can you describe the early days of the war and what has contributed to our success so far in the war?
When I assumed command of the Pacific Fleet, our submarines were already operating against the enemy. The only units of the fleet that could come to grips with the Japanese for months to come. It was to the submarine force that I looked to carry the load until our great industrial activity could produce the weapons we so sorely needed to carry the war to the enemy. It is the everlasting honor and glory of our submarine personnel that they never failed us in our days of peril.
And can you explain to us the goals you have set for this conflict?
The basic objectives and principles of war do not change. The final objective in war is the destruction of the enemy's capacity and will to fight, and thereby force him to accept the imposition of the victor's will.
What are some of the main things that will allow you to achieve these goals in the war?
The U.S.'s major strength factor and weapon is its economy. If you cripple it, you cripple the military.
Thank you, Admiral Nimitz, for both your time and service to this country. Reporting from Pearl Harbor, I'm Jack Edson for CBS Television News. Now back to you, Brian.
Wait. As a recap, in the Battle of Midway, the U.S. went against the odds to beat out the advancing Japanese forces. This was the turning point of the war in the Pacific. In Pearl Harbor, Japanese bombers and kamikazes took advantage of the United States' lack of communication and hopes to take out their naval fleet. In the Coral Sea, Japanese aircraft carriers arrived at New Guinea to cut off the supply line that went to the United States forces in Australia. After an intense air battle, the United States were able to hold off the Japanese and retain control of the area. Many of the battles won by the U.S. forces were made possible by the Navajo code talkers, which cracked the secret code that the Japanese used to communicate. This has been CBS Television News at 5. I'm Brian.
And I'm Trent. Thanks for joining us. Stay classy, G108.
On December 7th, an unsuspected attack brought on by Japanese bombers and kamikaze fighters destroyed over... What was that about?
Sorry. Alright.
It's funny about kamikaze.
You said the wrong word.
What did I say?
You pronounced it a little weird.
Oh yeah, it goes slow and I didn't like... Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
We're gonna do like the... What was it, High School Musical?
U.S. needs to place a stockpile of supplies for the war. We decided to make the stockpile in Okinawa and 305... Oh, Jesus Christ.
Just slow down.
Okay. It's like so choppy right there.
I think...
No, you just start with me, right?
Oh, yeah.
Hi, folks. I'm Joe with your weather. All right, today it's going to be, mid-70s, down the Cape, going to be 63. Out by Boston, 64. It's going to be partly cloudy, and a slight breeze, probably like 20 or 30 miles an hour, And we might actually see a huge hurricane come right through here and just blast Might even wipe out this whole continent. Okay, that's all. I'm CJ Hall. Thanks for watching.
To recap, in the Battle of Midway, the U.S. won against the odds to beat out the advanced Japanese forces.
That's the bell. That's the bell.